Hello everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. And this one is for Monday, November 25th, all the way through to Sunday, December 1st of 2019. And this week is kind of a new beginning. We're having our first new moon after the Mercury retrograde. We've got a lot of forward momentum going. We have Mars sort of revisiting some of the energies from the Mercury retrograde as it starts to transit the sign of Scorpio. And so this is, a time where we can actually start to move forward with things and make the changes that we want to make. And so it's a really exciting week. We have the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, and happy birthday to all of my Sagittarius sun sign people out there. I love Sagittarius season. It's one of my favorite astrological seasons because, well, it's my husband's birthday and it aligns really nicely in certain areas of my chart. So it's always a good time. But this week is actually going to be a brand new beginning for a lot of us. This new moon in Sagittarius is going to bring a little bit of a cosmic reset, and it's also going to bring this energy of like frustration and sort of this unsettled energy where if you've been feeling like you need to make a change, if you've been feeling really stuck or really sort of fed up with the status quo in your life, if things have gotten too stagnant, too monotonous, or if you feel too oppressed or too burdened by your current circumstances, this is a week where you're going to very easily be able to break free, maybe a little bit too much so, in the sense that people might just be like rebelling and doing crazy things because there's been this frustration that's been building and reaching this boiling point. And now it's sort of this point of no return where you're either going to repress it and feel really not very good about it, or you're going to want to make a bunch of changes all at once. If you repress it and hold it in, usually that's because of either moral or ethical reasons that maybe are preventing you, or religious reasons that are preventing you from making the change or rebelling against your certain circumstances that you're in right now that you no longer want, or because there's this energy of seeking approval. And it could be, seeking approval based on your spiritual community or religious leanings or something along those lines. But there's this energy where it feels like if you do the changes that you need to make, or if you make the changes that you need to make this week, that it might not necessarily be well received. And so there's a concern about maybe your image, or disregarding a role that you've been playing, or about like public opinion as to what it is that you're going to be changing or doing or rebelling against. And for some of you, that might hold you back. And if that's the case, I recommend at least making some changes or engaging with that energy in some way, because it's just going to keep building, and it's going to be expressed more subconsciously as opposed to in a very conscious, deliberate way. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll have, like I mentioned before, people just wanting to just change things all crazy. And so you might see friends, family members, people around you making really abrupt changes to their lives this week. Maybe it's something that's been building. And if this is the case for you, where you feel like you need to make a rather abrupt change, if it's something that's been building and that has reached its boiling point, something that you felt frustration around for quite some time, then now's a great time to make that change. And maybe you need to make it without regard for what other people think or the disruption that you're going to create. But if that's not the case, and you can actually maybe be a little bit more mindful in your actions and the way that you carry out these changes or carry out this rebellion against your current circumstances, then things will go a little bit more easily for you. You won't have as much backlash, and so if you want things to go smoothly, just be aware, and maybe instead of just abruptly ending, changing, disrupting things all at once, do it in steps, or approach it in a way that's a little bit more subtle if you're concerned about the blowback or the ripple effect of what it is that you're going to be resetting, starting fresh with, or changing in your life. And this could be on a very small scale for some people, depending on the alignments in your chart, which we'll get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Or this could be something that has been building on a more overt level that's going to be like a bigger change for certain people, especially people who have a lot of mutable energy or even fixed energy, especially Taurus near that 3rd and 4th degree in any of those signs. You're going to be feeling this really intensely. So it's going to be like you've been bottling up, and it might just all explode out of you kind of like a volcano this week. And so that's going to be the energy at the start of this week. Really, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even into Thursday, it's a very powerful new moon energy. And like I said before, this is like the first sort of forward momentum after that Mercury retrograde period that was very introspective. It was like a very intense moment of pulling away and pulling back for a lot of people. So now it's time to kind of get back out there, to have that adventure, to make those changes that you've been maybe reflecting on throughout that period. And then Neptune on Wednesday will be stationing to move direct. And so this is kind of a moment in time where things can feel kind of eerie. You know, when Neptune is in retrograde, it's actually a stronger, more Neptunian energy, where Neptune tends to function a little bit better. Almost when it's in retrograde, in the sense that retrograde planets are more, they're stronger, but they're more internalized. And Neptune is kind of already a more internal, subjective energy. It's a creative, intuitive energy, but it also has to do with your subjective experience of, I guess you could call it like alternate realities, right? Interdimensional energies that lie beyond the physical realm that you can connect with as a part of this physical experience. And so it heightens psychic awareness, it heightens psychic activity, it heightens your sensitivities on all levels when Neptune is retrograde, and you can understand what it is that you're picking up on a little bit more easily when that is the case. When it's direct, you're still going to be much more sensitive, but it's usually more physical sensitivities, and it can be a little bit more confusing to understand what it is that you're picking up on. And so then you can end up with more of this like free-floating sense of anxiety, or you can end up with, you know, on a physical level, reactions to certain foods or situations or toxins in your environment even, and you're not quite sure where that's coming from or why that's happening, those types of things. And this is all stuff that we're going to talk about really in depth for those who are taking the Mastering Neptune webinar, which is today if you're watching this on Saturday. And if you are watching this on Saturday morning, you still have a chance to attend live because it's at noon Mountain Time, so that's going to be 11 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So if you're watching this before then, you can jump on into the webinar, attend it live. You'll automatically be added and you'll get the link. And, you know, even if you're not watching it at this time, this is the last day to get the Mastering Neptune webinar at a 25% discount. And so you can get the webinar at a discounted rate. You can, you know, watch the recording, which will be available after the fact, and jump on in with that. And so that, I mean, it kind of makes sense, this Neptune webinar. I didn't intentionally plan it when Neptune was stationing, but I mean, it's a good time for it because Neptune's very strong in the skies this week. And so even, you know, the weekend right now, it's really strong because Neptune moves very slowly and it's like not even moving right now, but the exact stationary period is actually on Wednesday. And so that can be kind of like an eerie point in time where you might have heightened awareness or heightened sensitivities around a certain predicament or issue or topic in your life. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the forecast for all 12 signs as well. And the other things that are happening this week are all like really positive. I mean, this is a great week. We have Venus coming off of its conjunction with Jupiter in the galactic center at the start of this week, moving into Capricorn. That's not necessarily like a feel-good energy. You know, having Venus go from Sagittarius to Capricorn where it's more restrictive, but it is a really great time to re-solidify your foundation in relationships, to recommit yourself to the relationships that are most important to you. And that's all relationships, not just romantic partnerships. You know, it's more about taking responsibility for your relationships and the way that those play out in your life, and your end of maybe contributing to difficulties in relationships if that's the case for you as well. So it's kind of like taking personal responsibility for your relationships and taking responsibility for, you know, caring for others in a very practical way, showing your love in a very practical way. That's the Venus in Sagittarius, or sorry, Venus in Capricorn love language. It's doing things that are very practical and responsible to help the people that you care about. And it can come across sometimes as like cold and uncaring, but it's actually, you know, a really nice energy because it's an energy where they want to care for you, but they do it in a way that's just a little more responsible and grounded. And so that's kind of how people will show their love, at least on a more subtle level. It'll shift things so people are showing their appreciation in that way. Even if they're coming across as cold, you can tell that they care because they're doing things for you and they're looking out for you and, you know, holding up to their end of the responsibility. Later this week, after that Neptune stationing direct, we have on Thursday a couple of really nice alignments actually. Venus, which is in Capricorn, will actually make a really nice trine with Uranus, which is great for making changes financially, making changes to your appearance, making changes in relationships, or doing new and exciting things in relationships. And so if you want a makeover, or if you want to find a new relationship, or if you want to just reignite the excitement in your relationship, that's a great energy for it. And Neptune is actually stationing, by the way, in a trine with Mercury. And so this is the third trine. It happened in October, and I have this in my weekly Astro-Highlights, the exact dates that I should probably have in front of my face right now, but it happened at the end of October. It happened again, I believe on November 14th when Mercury was in retrograde, and now it's coming to pass for the third time. And so this represents some sort of vision or impression or idea or creative endeavor that maybe was seeded or initiated, or an important conversation that was very compassionate or transcendent in some way, that was seeded around that first pass, which would have been toward the end of November. I think the end of October, I think October 23rd or something like that. I'll have to, if you're not on my list, by the way, for the weekly Astro Highlights, definitely subscribe to that. It's free. You'll get the rundown of the planetary energies for the week in your inbox every Monday morning, and that'll have the exact date for the first pass. But that second pass was on November 14th, and that would have been a revisiting of that energy, having to go back, reflect on it, change something, revise something, maybe internalize it a little bit more, think it through. And now we're having this point where Mercury is direct, and we can actually move forward with those visions, impressions, downloads, ideas, communications that we've been needing to have. And so that's part of what's going on here. And these can be things that are quite practical, and that it could even just be that you had an idea or a vision about something, and then you reflected on it and refined it during the Mercury retrograde. And now you're actually ready to take it and turn it into something practical in real life. And that is supported by Mercury also being in a sextile with Saturn, because we still have that Neptune-Saturn sextile going on in the skies. And so it's a really nice alignment for having very compassionate conversations, for having really great ideas, and translating those ideas into practical action or practical plans for action. It's like you can have these grand visions, you can use your imagination, but it's not going to take you out into the ethers completely. You'll still have your feet on solid ground, and you'll still be able to connect it to something real that you can utilize in your life. And so that combination is actually really great. Mercury Neptune trine in and of itself is a nice, floaty, feel good energy. It's really creative, really great for creative writing and brainstorming and all of that, spiritual study and exploration. But if you don't have that grounded energy involved in there, especially with the water signs, you're not likely to do very much with it actively in real life. I mean, that still could be great, to have those visions, to use your imagination, but this is a nice energy for turning it into something solid. And so that's really the main energy for this week. And so that is my general version of this forecast. I'm going to get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But I do have just one more quick announcement. So I mentioned that the Mastering Neptune webinar is happening today. I'm excited. And that today's the last day to get 25% off. And this is also the last day to get the whole Outer Planet series at the current price for only $99. The price is going to go up at the end of the day at midnight. And so if you want to take advantage of that, then you can do so. You can get Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Mastering Pluto, which is coming up in January, and then the free webinar that's exclusive to the Outer Planet series, all about Jupiter. And the other thing that's going on is that this is the last day to get $50 off my foundational astrology video course. It's a very comprehensive course that I've created to help you guys learn astrology from the ground up, right? Foundational astrology. So you can learn everything you need to know to start piecing things together and to start looking at charts and doing, and working with astrology very effectively. So you can find the links for all of these things down in the description below. And so the sale for that course ends tonight at midnight as well. And let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning with Aries and Aries rising. Okay, so for Aries and for Aries rising, so let's start out with what's happening first, which is going to be that new moon. So the new moon in Sagittarius, this is actually a nice one for Aries. There could be some sort of frustration or some sort of need to rebel against your current circumstances related to the way that you're creating resources or utilizing resources, or some sort of restrictive financial situation that's not in alignment with your moral and ethical value systems. But this is also a really great time to initiate a new adventure, to initiate a new learning opportunity, to initiate some sort of educational pursuit, to initiate some sort of travel plans that you've been thinking about and that you've been really wanting to connect with and embark on. This is a feel-good energy for people who are born in that first decan of Aries, anyone from 0 to 10 degrees, because this is going to actually be in a really nice trine with your ascendant and in a sextile with your descendant. So this could be a really nice time for new beginnings on a personal level, for you to figure out how to better align yourself in the way that you move through life and the way that you show up and project your energy outwardly with your own personal sense of integrity and what you truly value and what you believe. Show up and be that, right? That's part of this energy too. And also this could be a really great energy for a fresh start in relationships if that's something that you choose to activate, because with the sextile aspect, yes, it does support positive experiences, but you usually have to do something to make it happen, which is a little different from the trine energy. And so for those Aries at those first 10 degrees, you have a lot of potential here for new adventures, to break free from restrictive financial situations, to embrace a new way of being, a new way of projecting yourself or projecting your personality, in alignment with your integrity, and also for a nice reset, or at least a really nice experience or adventure in relationships. So, going and taking a little trip with your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, going out there and meeting someone while you're having an adventure if you're not connected in that way, forming new business alliances or new partnerships involving teaching, or partnerships with people in foreign countries. That could be a really great energy for this as well. So, you could have some positive developments in those areas. Probably not something big and crazy like, meeting your future spouse, but, maybe for some people. But definitely some more subtle positive developments. The Neptune stationing to go direct is happening in your 12th house. This can make you very, very sensitive, especially on that psychic, intuitive, like connecting with other dimensional energies level. And so you could be picking up on a lot to the point where it can feel a little bit scary almost. And so you might be wanting to suppress that, to bottle it up, to hold it in, or to dull it even with, drugs, alcohol, things like that, because you're feeling so sensitive and you're feeling overwhelmed by it. And that's been going on for quite a few years now for Aries with Neptune transiting your 12th house. You might have this free-floating sense of anxiety. You might have a lot of fear around what it is that you're picking up on, even if it's through your dreams or through your subconscious. And so this is a time where it's going to become more overt, and maybe it's best to pay attention to it and sort of roll with it as opposed to blotting it out or blocking it out. Definitely not a good time, really, for the past 8 years, or yeah, what would have been 8 years, a little bit less than that, really for the entire time that Neptune's in Pisces. And even as it starts to transit your first house, not a great time for drugs and alcohol for Aries, especially when it's stationing right now. So just kind of be mindful of that. But this can be utilized for intuitive insight, to heighten your psychic awareness, and to get some intuitive hits that will provide answers to the questions that you've been sort of bringing up when it comes to, or what you've been reviewing and revising and kind of going back to when it comes to that Mercury retrograde energy in your 8th house that's been occurring over the past few weeks. Now is a time where you can move forward with something that's really empowering. You can move forward with new financial goals when it comes to joint finances, through marriage partnership, through inheritance, through some sort of investment or something along those lines. And this could be a really great time to get some sort of intuitive insight on how to handle certain power struggles or certain deep-seated fears, anxieties, insecurities that are burdening you like beneath the surface, so you can release and heal through that. And doing this is going to help you in a very practical way when it comes to restructuring and working on developing your career moving forward. You're going to be releasing a lot of energy that maybe is blocking you from focusing on doing the work. Oh, there we go. And then for Taurus, the Taurus rising. So this this new moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt. It's the house of joint finances. It's the house of, you know, finances through marriage, inheritance, death, rebirth. It's a deep healing house too, because it's a house where you heal yourself from the inside out, where you dive deep into those fears, anxieties, old traumas, old wounds, and you can pull them up to the surface and you can work through them and release them. There could be some sort of internal or subconscious psychological frustration that you're feeling with your current circumstances, especially if you feel that those circumstances are disempowering to you in some way. If you're feeling really bored with your day-to-day life and the way that you're the way that you're engaging with the world, this is a time, you know, with Uranus transiting your sign, where you're going to be making a lot of changes, and people might not even recognize who you are at the end of this. You're going to be a completely different person. And so especially for Taurus rising people, within those first 5 degrees, so like 0 to 5 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really intensely. And this might be the push that you need to really jump in and make some important changes in your life. You might do it kind of abruptly and in a way that might be a little chaotic for the people who are sort of viewing it from the outside, because they're used to you showing up in your steady, reliable Taurus manner, and all of a sudden you have this Uranus energy and you need to rebel, you need to be unique, you need to do something completely different from the way that you've done it before. And so it can be a little disruptive to your relationships even, just because certain people are not going to accept this, because they want you to stay the same. They want to, they want to know who's going to show up, right? They feel that they already know you as a certain way. And sometimes when you have Uranus transiting the ascendant like this, it does impact your relationships through the changes that you're making, and some people just not having approval of those changes. And that can show you what relationships you need to kind of end or change or get rid of, because those relationships are holding you back. Those relationships are restrictive in some sort of way. So if that is the case, kind of pay attention to that and pay attention to who's on your side and maybe who's not. The other thing that's going to be happening is really beautiful, powerful energy around relationships this week in general. And so, for the most part, I think you'll have an okay time in relationships, but there could be that disruption just based on your actions. But the energy of Neptune stationing to go direct in trine with Mercury, which is in your 7th house of one-on-one partnership, marriage partnership, this is a beautiful time to connect with friends, groups of people, to connect with anyone that you really love and care about, to connect one-on-one with people, to have really intense spiritual connections and discussions with others, to feel more compassion and more empathy for the people that you care about in your life. And this is an energy that was initiated in October. You've been kind of playing with it all through November, and it could even bring a really important message or an important resolution to something involving involving a relationship or a friendship that comes through intuitively, or that comes through some act of compassion or some communication that's very compassionate. And this can help to free up some energy for you. And so this is also a great time to consider envisioning maybe some sort of group activity or some sort of adventure that you can go on with your friends or your social circles, or maybe your husband, your spouse, you know, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and to actually take practical steps to create that reality, to make those plans for travel and to go do something really exciting. All right, and then for Gemini and for Gemini rising, so the new moon energy is happening in your 7th house. So this could be really great for new beginnings in relationships. And so if you've been frustrated with your current circumstances, if you've been bottling up and internalizing your frustrations in your relationships, where maybe the dynamic isn't working for you anymore, maybe there's something that needs to change, maybe things have gotten really stagnant and dull, and you want to, you know, shake things up a little bit. Now's the time where you have the opportunity to reset, to have some sort of new beginning in your closest, most important relationships. And that's, you know, marriage partnership, boyfriends, girlfriends, romantic partnerships in general. That could be close personal relationships with friends. This could be business partnerships, changing agreements and negotiations involving contracts. But there's this intense need to rebel that's maybe been internalized that you're not necessarily recognizing, but it's happening on a subconscious level. And this could activate that and cause you to change something in terms of those themes, especially around relationships. And this is a really great time to set intentions for that, right? So if you need to make a change, if your partnerships are not what you want them to be, maybe you don't have a partnership and you want one, you feel frustrated with that, set your intentions and start putting yourself out there, because now's a great time for an adventure when it comes to romance. The other thing that's happening is that Neptune will be stationing to go direct in your 10th house of career and public reputation. There's been a lot of confusion for Geminis, especially Gemini rising signs around that 15, 16th degree, really anywhere in the past year from like 13 to 17 degrees, I would say. You've been feeling this pretty intensely. More than that, actually, I think it's like 18 or 19 degrees. So that's kind of a big span. Where Neptune has been transiting your 10th house, bringing a lot of confusion, fogginess around your career path, maybe dissatisfaction with your career, this unsettled energy, but not really knowing what to do with it. Maybe your career in general has been sort of dissolving and you're not really sure what to build in its place. And maybe you've been having a little bit of a crisis of identity, not really knowing who you are anymore as a result of these changes that are going on. This could also be bringing some sort of difficulty in your partnerships, where maybe you've been wearing rose-colored glasses, or you've been more delusional even in your partnerships, believing what you want to believe, seeing what you want to see. And during these times, especially with Neptune stationing, the veil might drop and you might realize that this person you're connecting with is not who you thought they were, and you need to change something and get grounded and get more realistic. So this could be a little bit more difficult for Geminis than some of the other signs, especially if you have those middle degree Gemini rising, or if you are a middle degree Gemini rising person. If you are, I highly recommend for all the mutable signs the Mastering Neptune webinar, because we'll get into this and you can understand what's going on a little bit better and how to work with it way beyond what I can describe in this short little video, because we're going to be talking for like 4 hours about this. But this week you can actually have some good energy and some opportunities to make changes in your career and in your work experience. There could have been some sort of creative project or pursuit or some really great idea that you had and that you were envisioning in October. Maybe you refined it and talked it out with your employees or with your coworkers in the middle of, or at the end of November, middle to end of November, around November 14th. And now's the time where you can finally move forward, carry things out, deliver the information, finalize that project, use that creative energy for some sort of tangible expression. And doing so can help you to remove some blockages that have been occurring in the 8th house. So maybe there's some fears that have been holding you back, and embracing this really positive, compassionate energy. And this could be even a compassionate project, like doing something, you know, involving charity or a charity event with your work. But this can help to unlock some blockages when it comes to fears and anxieties, and maybe financial blockages even, that need to be worked through by utilizing your intuition and by moving forward with these things. All right, for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So these, so first off, the new moon. So the new moon is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of work and daily routines. And so this is a fresh start. So you can move forward with new routines with your day-to-day work experience. Maybe that's something you're thinking about with the new year coming up, and you know, that sort of cosmic reset that happens around the winter solstice. And so now's the time where you can move forward with creating better habits and routines that are less oppressive, that give you more freedom, that allow you to have more of a sense of adventure and excitement in your day-to-day experience around your work, or even around your health routines. Maybe that's got dull and stagnant and you need to go out and like maybe go climb a mountain or do something really Sagittarian, like have a big adventure physically to maintain your health. That could be part of it too. But this could be, you know, a really great opportunity to reignite your excitements when it comes to just your day-to-day life, and especially when it comes to your work, and maybe even your workspace and the people that you surround yourself with at work. If you've been feeling a lot of frustration, especially around your community, or maybe even a social circle related to your work. So maybe friends, you know, involved with your job, maybe there's been some sort of frustration there, and it finally comes out, you finally break free, you finally speak your mind, and you're able to move forward, right? And to have more freedom and to feel less oppression in your workplace. This is a great week for all of those things. The other energy that's happening, of course, is Neptune stationing, and this is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of adventure. It's the house of philosophy, religion, right? And this is a very spiritual planet and a spiritual energy in the sign of Pisces. So you might have some sort of breakthrough or awakening when it comes to your belief systems about God, the universe, the world around you, your perspective on life, and the way that you frame this reality, and your understanding around the interconnectedness between all things. This is a great, really feel-good week for Cancers, especially if you have your rising sign really anywhere from, let's say, so it's from 15 to 16 degrees, because it's 15 degrees, like 56 minutes that this is happening with the trine and with the stationary position. So if you have your ascendant exactly at that degree and minute, right, that's going to be a really happy, very feel-good energy for you. But it's really anywhere from like 12, let's say, to 18 degrees. You're going to be feeling this really, really strongly, maybe even a little bit beyond that, as a grand trine with your ascendant. And so you have these two influences in the two most positive houses. The 5th house, which is the house of joy and romance and play and hobbies and interests and creative self-expression and things that you do because you love to do them. And then the 9th house of adventure and expanding your mind and broadening your horizons. And so this could be a week where you go out there, you have fun, you connect with people, you connect with passions and hobbies and interests that maybe have fallen by the wayside. You get these intuitive hits, you get these insights. So, go out and have an adventure this week. Have some fun, because this is a week where, at the very least, you could have this like feel-good experience. And there could be something that you want to move forward with that you initiated, maybe, or seeded, or came up for the very first time at the end of October with that Mercury trine to Neptune, that's going to have come back around in November, around November 14th. And now it's finally coming to fruition. It's coming to this point where maybe you had this really great idea for some sort of really fun project or fun adventure, or travel plans that you wanted to make, or something, or something just creative that you wanted to do, and now you finally have this opportunity to move forward and to do it. All right, and then for Leo and for Leo rising. For Leos, this So first off, this new moon energy is happening in your 5th house. And so this is a great energy for Leo rising, Leo sun signs, Leo moon signs, anywhere around that 4th degree in the sign of Leo. So I would say anywhere in that first decan, 0 to 10 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really strongly and really positively. This is like a reset on all levels that can come very easily to you, where you can initiate new beginnings, new projects, where you can start things fresh. Without really having to push, especially you can start new projects and embrace this energy of joy, because it's in your 5th house of joy. The 5th house is the house of fun. It's the house of creativity. It's the house of hobbies, interests, play, things that you do because you love to do them. And so you can have this really incredible opportunity to start something fresh in this area. And, by doing this, this could also unleash a little bit or resolve some sort of frustration that's been building in your 10th house of career, because you have obviously Uranus and Taurus there that's squaring your ascendant too. So there's this energy here with Uranus in conjunction where engaging in play, engaging in your passions can unlock this potential for change and for maybe a little bit rebellion and a little bit of disruption against your current circumstances in your work. And so this could be expressed quite positively for you. And then the energy of this trine with Neptune stationing is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, joint finances, other people's money. It's also sort of a deep healing house. And so this could give you some sort of insight intuitively into some sort of issue or problem that you've been wanting to address or needing to address when it comes to deep-seated fears, insecurities, anxieties that have been preventing you or controlling you, preventing you from moving forward, preventing you from acting in the way that you normally would, because when you live in fear of something, it tends to control your behavior. This could also bring some sort of intuitive insight involving or a creative solution involving debt or involving some sort of family dynamic or family situation or property related situation involving finances as well. You can come up with some sort of creative solution. This could also be a creative project or a creative energy around the home in general, or maybe you've been working on reorganizing or redecorating your home in some way. And so that could be part of this energy too. And this could be a really great time to have really deep, compassionate connections and talks with family members and people that are close to you. And those can actually be quite fruitful. All right, and for Virgo rising. So this new moon is going to be happening in your 4th house. Right? Yes, that's correct. So sometimes I draw these kind of lopsided. I need to get a better system here. But so this new moon is going to be happening in your 4th house, which is going to bring new beginnings and the chance to change something or rebel against your current circumstances that no longer serve you when it comes to your place of living, your family dynamic, anything that has to do really with property, with your home, with your place of living, with your roommates even. And so now's a time to set your intentions. Maybe you want to go live abroad with your Sagittarius 4th house, or maybe you want to move or find a better location for yourself. Maybe, it's just that there's something that's been preventing you from really focusing on your roots, focusing on your home, your family, your place of living. That could be a really good thing that you could set your intentions to resolve throughout this new moon period at the start of this week. There is kind of an energy where you're developing new belief systems. You're developing new ways of framing your reality through your philosophies and your value systems and your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you that frame this reality. And so there could be this energy where maybe your current circumstances with your place of living or, in your situation with your family are not in alignment with these new beliefs that are forming. And so that could give you this frustrated energy that causes you to need to make that change. And then the energy that's happening later on this week, of course, is Neptune stationing to go direct in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And this is actually in a really nice trine with Mercury, which has been going back and forth in retrograde and direct in your 3rd house of communication. This is a really important moment to have really compassionate conversations with people who you're close with. You can have a lot of really great creative ideas, or really great new bonds and connections that are formed through communication, especially deep, intimate, spiritually connected communication. You can have some really great ideas and insights that come through connecting one-on-one with people and through that communication as well. This is a really great time to reach out to people that you care about and to tell them how much you care about them, because that's that energy of Neptune being really compassionate, or to help somebody, or to help somebody even just solve a problem. I mean, that could be part of it too. This could be an energy that where you had a really great idea that maybe came through a connection or came through an interaction with somebody, or an important message that happened at the end of October that came back around November 14th or around that time when Mercury was in retrograde, where you had to kind of go back and revisit it. And now you can finally move forward with those plans, with those ideas, with maybe an important conversation that you need to have. All right, and then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for you guys, this new moon energy is happening in your third house of communication, of neighbors, of community, of vehicles and short distance travel, of education and learning new skills. And so this is a time where, excuse me, this is a time where you can set intentions for new beginnings in these areas. And so maybe you've been wanting to learn something new. Maybe you've been wanting to learn a new language. Maybe you've been wanting to study something that you've been kind of holding back on, something that feels really adventurous and really exciting for you. Maybe you've been wanting to take a short trip or a road trip, and now's the time where you can kind of break free, rebel from your current circumstances and go out and do something fun and adventurous. Now's a really great time to study new subjects that are a little bit outside of the box, a little bit eccentric, outside of the norm, to rebel against maybe your current mindset around something, or to rebel against the mainstream mindset around something by learning something unique and a little contrary to the status quo. That would be a really great energy with that Uranus in conjunction involved. This could be setting intentions or starting some sort of new project or new beginnings involving maybe getting a new car, connecting with your community, or joining some sort of community organization, or starting some sort of community organization. This could be a really great time to connect with siblings and extended family members, or to sort of reset those relationships or change the dynamic in those relationships if that feels good to you, or to initiate some sort of important conversation or a writing project or communication project even, or a marketing type of project as well. The energy later this week, you're going to have Neptune stationing to go direct in your 6th house, which is the house of work and daily routines. With Neptune transiting your 6th house, it's kind of a difficult time to stick to any sort of routine, and that's been true for you for quite some time now. And I mean, even in your natal chart, that's true for most of you, unless you maybe have Saturn or something in your 6th house as well, natally. Your 6th house is ruled by Pisces, and so you kind of need to go with the flow and to be much more fluid and creative with the way that you utilize your time on a day-to-day basis. There could have been some sort of creative project or idea or vision that you had for your day-to-day work experience that involved the way that you deal with your finances as well, or an important creative project that could create more finances for you. If that came up for you, if something around those themes came up for you, or even a conversation around these themes at the end of October, you might have revisited or thought about it or sort of internalized it at the middle of November. And now's the time where you can actually move forward and you can create what you want to create, and maybe it can pay off for you financially. And this could actually help to unlock some blockages, or unblock some blockages, I guess, in your 4th house of the home, family, property, through this creative use of your time on a day-to-day basis, through this renewed energy or this new idea or new vision for the way that you use your resources. And it could even be you creating a situation where you could buy a home or lay down roots or something along those lines as well. All right, and then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpios, this new moon is happening in your second house of money. And so this is a really great time to seed new intentions involving your resources, involving maybe a big expenditure that you need to make, or saving for a big expenditure. Maybe you want to change the way that you deal with your resources or create your resources because that's been feeling sort of oppressive or challenging to you, or restrictive in some way. And so there's this energy here building of wanting to change something, wanting to rebel. This could also indicate a change in your partner's resources built on some sort of frustration that causes them to change something rather abruptly that impacts your money or your savings in some way. So maybe, talk to your partner and communicate about that if that is something that's applicable to you. This is a really great time, though, to set financial goals for the future. Start setting your financial goals for 2020, at this new moon, because this is the time to do it for you. Really it is, because you're going to have Sagittarius activated by the sun transiting through Sagittarius for the next month. And so this is activating your second house. This is activating the need to pay attention and to become more conscious of your resources. The other thing that's going on is that, of course, Mercury's been retrograding in your sign. And so if you are a Scorpio rising, anywhere from that 12th to 18th degree in the sign of Scorpio, or a Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, that's applicable to you too. This is going to be a nice energy. So you've had Mercury retrograding in your sign. It hasn't been the most, conflict heavy energy with this Mercury retrograde, because it's been making really nice aspects, right? And one of those aspects it made was this trine to Neptune, which helps you to envision your future, to envision who you want to be and the way that you want to present yourself out in the world, to think more creatively and to act more creatively, to sort of engage more in your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love, and to embody that through the way that you project your energy, through the way that you communicate, through the way that you present yourself. And so this is one of those energies where you might have started thinking about these themes, or had some sort of vision or creative idea or communication that came in that was important at the start or just before the Mercury retrograde. You would have revisited it back in the middle of November, around November 14th, and you would have been pondering these themes. And now's a time where you can push forward and make, these dreams, these visions a reality for yourself. You can embody who you want to be and connect that with your passions and the things that you love, your hobbies, your interests, this playful side of yourself. And so it's a really nice energy. And, by doing this, this can enhance your communication, your connection with your community, just by embodying this energy and being more yourself and acting and thinking more creatively and passionately. This can really help you to communicate more effectively, to think about the way that you're presenting yourself through communication or marketing your business, if that's applicable to you, in a way that's more solid and that's more long lasting and more in alignment with your image and what you value. All right, and then for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So for you guys, this energy here is happening on your ascendant. And so especially if you are a Sagittarius rising within that first decan, so that 0 to 10th degree in the sign of Sagittarius, you might have been feeling a lot of frustration or this really incredible urge to rebel against your current circumstances in your work, especially day-to-day work routines, or feeling like a little bit of a rebel when it comes to the people that you surround yourself with in your work environment. Even if you're not intentionally embodying that energy, it can cause you to have to do something rebellious or make changes to your workplace, and just your presence can be a little disruptive to the status quo when it comes to your coworkers and your surroundings. There could have been some frustration or some changes going on involving your health, your nutrition, your daily health regimens and routines, or some frustration with your health where you want to change something and turn to maybe alternatives in order to create the circumstances around your health that you want to create. That could be part of it too. And now's the time for this is a really great energy to, first off, set intentions for making changes for your health and for your body, for your appearance, for your workout routines. But you need to do things that are alternative, that are exciting, that are different, that are outside of the box in order to, first off, be successful in that, but to feel satisfied with the changes that you're making. The other thing too is that you can make a lot of changes on a personal level. This is really a reset or a new beginning that can occur involving anything that favors your own self-interest. And so whatever you want to do, this is your time to have that cosmic reset to make it happen. And if there's something that you want to set set off or change or embark on or just seed intentions for involving making changes to your day-to-day work habits, your day-to-day work routines, your work life in general, now's a time where you can really do that effectively. So, spend some time sitting in meditation, spend some time setting those intentions, especially those first decan Sagittarius people. And for those first decan Sagittarius people, especially the ones who are born this week, at the start of this week, you're going to have a new moon for your solar return. So this is like a big reset on all levels. This is a year-long reset where anytime I have ever had a new moon in my solar return, and my clients will most likely tell you the same based on my conversations with all of them, but anytime that's happened, it has been a life-changing year where I've had a lot of major endings and things that were started that really became much more important in future cycles. And so an example of this is the last time I had a new moon in my solar return. I started my astrology business. I had my very first live astrology talk, which got me thinking about doing videos and forecasts and things like that. And then literally that day, I found out that we were going to be moving across the country from Texas to Arizona. And that was also an eclipse too, so that's a little bit different. But that was the last new moon energy, and that completely changed my whole life in a lot of different ways. And so you can have a life-changing year as well. And if you want to learn more about what this means for you, there's a 2-hour solar return forecast that you can find down in the link in the description below, all about your year ahead, the new moon and beyond. And so you can find that. It's available for immediate download. And for the rest of you and for the rest of this week, Neptune is actually stationing to go direct in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property. This could increase sensitivities around your family or your intuitive capabilities or your intuitive or sort of interdimensional or spiritual connection to your ancestors or to your roots. And so that warrants exploration this week if you have the time or the means or the pull to do so. This is also a really great energy where you're probably going to want to kick back, relax, spend time at home, take time away from the world, just enjoy feeling good and escaping from the normal day-to-day reality, especially more toward the end of this week. By just spending time at home, connecting with family, especially around Thanksgiving. For those who are here in the United States, I think this will be a really pleasant Thanksgiving, a really pleasant time to connect with your family. For Sagittarius rising people, if you're able to celebrate and if you have those connections. If you don't, this is a great time to reach out and create your own family, right? What does family mean to you? Who do you want to surround yourself with? That type of thing. Maybe reach out to friends and neighbors and connect, because this is a great time to do that, and you'll have really compassionate, loving, spiritual connections. And this is a time where you'll feel much more compassionate toward your family. So if you're normally I don't want to go Thanksgiving, it's going to be so frustrating, we're going to be fighting, you're going to be much more understanding, you're going to be much more compassionate, and they're going to be much more understanding of you. They're going to see your side, they're going to have more empathy, and it's going to be a much more pleasant experience for a lot of Sagittarius. A lot of Sagittarius rising people. So yeah, and also still pay attention to your dreams. I've been saying that for a while now with Mercury retrograde, and my husband's been keeping a log of his dreams because I keep saying it in my forecast. He listens to my forecasts, even though I can tell him things in real life. And stuff has been coming up for him, important stuff. And, if he wasn't paying attention and if he wasn't writing it down, that's Mercury, or verbalizing it to someone. Tell, your spouse or your family or your friends about your dreams so it solidifies it in your mind. If you don't write it down, you're going to have some insights coming in for you this week pretty easily. So definitely pay attention to that. All right. And then for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this energy with the new moon is happening in your 12th house. And so this is kind of like more of an ending than a new beginning. It's kind of rebelling against your current circumstances and letting go of anything that is blocking you from experiencing joy, from connecting with the things that you love to do, your passions, your hobbies, the interests, things that you love to do and that you do by choice. There could be some oppressive or frustrating circumstances around your children if you have any. And so this could cause you to want to let go of whatever it is that's causing those circumstances. This is a time of major endings, major letting go, major purge, and a really introspective month ahead for you, because the sun is transiting your 12th house if you are a Capricorn rising, and it's transiting the last sign before it hits your sun sign and you have your solar return. If you're a Capricorn sun sign. And if you want to know what's coming up for you for your solar return for the year ahead, I do have a 2-hour video coming up for you guys. You can pre-order for 25% off. The link is down in the description below. But now you're in the preparation phase for that. So whether you're a rising or a sun sign Capricorn, you're kind of in a more introspective, internalized phase where you're taking stock of what's happened over the course of the past 12 months since the last time the sun was in this position, letting go of anything that didn't work for you and no longer serves you. So that way you have space cleared away for new beginnings and setting those intentions for your year ahead when the sun either hits your ascendant or when you have your solar return. The energy of the stationary Neptune is happening in your 3rd house. So you might have some really, first off, you've probably been kind of floating off in the ethers a little bit already when it comes to your mindset. So you're thinking more creatively, you're thinking more intuitively, you're able to intuit things and then express it through communication. This is a really great time to connect with a spiritual community, to connect with people who are like-minded or who can help open you up to new experiences beyond this realm, beyond this dimension, beyond this reality. This is also a really great time to connect with a creative group of people. With Mercury in this trine here, with Neptune in your 3rd house of community and communication, and Mercury in your 11th house of friendship. Connect with your friends, especially the ones that are creative. Go do something, go on a spiritual retreat with your friends. Do something where you're connecting with people on that level. Go take an art class or something with a group of people. Join a creative group or club or organization, or an organization that's devoted to doing charity work and helping others and doing something that's really compassionate, because that's something that this could be really great for too. If that's something that you were thinking about back in October, and maybe you've been reflecting on it since mid-November when this came back around, then this is definitely the time where you can move forward. Oh, and this is actually going to help, by the way, before I move on, with this sextile to Saturn. Saturn's transiting your sign. I mean, it's been kind of heavy. It's been burdensome. It's been repressive, restrictive. Like, you've had a lot of responsibility on your plate. And this connection that you'll form, or these connections that you'll form through these new endeavors, these new group-related activities, this can really help you to alleviate some of that weight. Just that socialization and that support system alone will help you to feel way less burdened by that Saturnian energy, by that responsibility that you're carrying right now. And so that will be a good energy to engage with. All right, and then so for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for you guys, this new moon is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friendship. Social networks, groups, organizations, people that you surround yourself with because you want to. And so this is a great time to set intentions for networking, for business. This is a great time to set intentions for group activities or for finding new friends. If that's something that appeals to you, this is a great time to have an adventure with your friends or set intentions to have some sort of adventure with your friends. Connecting with groups of people, this is actually an interesting energy, because if you've been feeling the need to change something involving your home environment or your family dynamic, this is a time where you can set intentions to make those changes or start to break away and rebel against your current circumstances. But I think your friends and your group associations might actually help you out with that. It could even be something like you're feeling frustrated with your blood family, right? Your biological relatives, and you decide that you're going to create your own little group and you're going to find your own people and tribe, and they're going to be like your family. That would be actually a really nice way to use this energy if that's applicable to you. But there could be something that you need to change, and reaching out to a group can help you to do that. Or, if you're not with the right group, that can maybe hinder things a little bit. So depending on who your friends are and how supportive they are of the changes that you want to make, that's going to really dictate how helpful those group associations will be. And if they're not helpful, and if they're kind of restricting you and trying to pigeonhole you and keep you the way that you are and keep your situation the way that it is, even though you feel this intense frustration and this really intense need to rebel and change, then maybe that group is not the right group, and maybe this is where you can see those intentions for those friends that feel like family, who are supportive of your rebellious Aquarian nature, because, I mean, that's just who you are, right? Even regardless of having a Uranus activation going on right now. But if you are an Aquarius near that 3rd or 4th degree, I mean, this is also Uranus squaring your ascendant. So you're making some changes right now already. And those changes can be more over the top, a little bit more eccentric, a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more disruptive, especially disruptive to your relationships and to your family dynamic and all of that than they normally would be. But you're good at utilizing that Uranus energy pretty effectively if you're an Aquarius rising. So hopefully you're navigating that well. This could be an activation of that, though, where there's a need to change something pretty suddenly going into this week. The other thing that's happening is that you have had Mercury retrograding back and forth in your 10th house, so you've probably been rethinking a lot related to your career or work-related projects, your public image, what it is that you're putting out there into the world for public consumption. And so this could be a time where you get a really important message or a really creative insight or a creative an important message or a creative insight that came through back in October. Maybe you revisited it in the middle of November, near November 14th, could come back around, or you could bring something to fruition that you've been sort of pondering and refining throughout this time period. Any sort of creative endeavor, especially involving communication, speaking, writing, that could be helpful to the development of your career can actually help to very easily and sort of magically funnel money into your 2nd house of finance with that Neptune in the 2nd house. Neptune in the 2nd house can be a little hard. It's been there for a while, and you have a Pisces 2nd house anyway, but it can be hard to hold on to your resources, and it can be hard to figure out what to do with your money and how to create resources when you have Neptune transiting there, making everything kind of confusing. This will bring clarity, especially through your intuition, right? So kind of sitting back, reflecting on it, meditating on it, that can help you to clean up your finances, to create more resources for yourself, and maybe to hold on to your money a little bit more easily, because that's part of this as well. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for you guys, this energy with the new moon is actually happening in your 10th house of career and public reputation. Maybe there's something that you've been kind of thinking about, like you've been changing your mindset around a lot of things and having a lot of really new, inspired ideas that disrupt your current paradigm, your current framework when it comes to just the way that you think and communicate on a day-to-day basis. New information that can be kind of disruptive and disturbing can come in when you have Uranus transiting your 3rd house. And so this change in mindset, these new ideas could cause some sort of frustration this week with your work, with your career, with what it is that you're doing out in the world. You could feel like you want to change something, have more freedom, rebel against your current work circumstances. If that's the case, now's the time to make the change. Now's the time to speak up. But make sure that you're doing it mindfully. There's a danger here of speaking up a little too much and causing a lot of disruption and maybe making a bit of a mess for yourself. So you want to make sure that you're doing it maybe in steps, or that you're just being very mindful of the way that you approach this if there is a big change you want to make. This is a really great time to set intentions for new beginnings, new projects, or even a new career path if that's something that you're really aiming for, especially if you're a Pisces rising between that 0 and 10 degrees, so that first decan in Pisces. This is going to be an important time for you to make a lot of changes and sort of reset in a lot of areas of life. Who you are, the way that you're showing up, your direction in life, your goals, your career, your home and living situation, your relationships. These are all subject to new beginnings for you this week. If you're any Pisces rising, you're also having Neptune stationing to go direct. So you're going to feel very sensitive this week to the point where it can be overkill. Like you're going to be feeling everything. And so it can be a little difficult to navigate because you're going to be picking up on a lot of different things, and then you might not be clear on what it is that you're picking up on. So you might, suddenly feel this like bad energy or this free floating sense of anxiety, especially at the middle of this week, and you might not know where it's coming from. Typically, it's not coming from you or anything necessarily even related to you. It's something that you're picking up on in your environment or in the collective energy. And so just kind of sit with it, pay attention to where that's leading you. You can also get really incredible visions and inspiration and psychic insights. Like if you really want to tap into your psychic potential, this week is a really great week for that because Neptune will be very strong. It's in your sign, and especially for those who have their Pisces ascendant, sun, or moon, anywhere really from that 13 to 18 degrees, you're going to be feeling this very strongly. You're going to be hypersensitive So if that's something that you're looking to enhance and cultivate in some way, now's the time to do it. And you can do it without sort of floating off into the ethers, because we do have a Saturn activation within this little configuration here. And the other thing that's going on is Mercury is actually going to be in your 9th house. And so this could be a really important idea or a change in perspective that comes through an intuitive insight or an important message. It could be something that you already started to ponder back in October. It came back around mid-November, especially near November 14th. And maybe it's coming back around now for the last time, and you actually get to act on it or embrace it, embrace this new paradigm, embrace this new belief system or these new ideas or values that you've created or that you've been really rethinking. This could also be a really important message or a really magical opportunity for like travel, right? It could even just be something like going on some sort of spiritual retreat, or it could just be like going on some sort of adventure. You've been envisioning it, you've been wanting to create it, especially if you're doing this within a group or a group setting or with friends. Now is a time where you can really solidify that and make it happen. All right. And so that is my forecast for all 12 signs. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you really like this video, please subscribe to my channel so you never miss an astrology forecast, and follow me on Instagram. I'm doing more Instagram stuff. I'm posting a lot of different tidbits and astrology insights and things throughout the week. And so you can find me on there. My handle is @astrologywithheather, and the link is down in the description below as well. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.